Hi friends, welcome to IGN. We're here to argue. I'm Jared Petty. I'm here with two of my friends, Damon Hatfield, Max Scoville.
Hey.
So, I wrote an article recently about the best years in the history of video gaming, and that's a pretty contentious topic. I came down on the year 2018, but I'm here with two friends who disagreed, and we're going to talk about each of our opinions on that for a moment. Because I'm hosting, I'm going to hop right in first and talk about 2018 and why I was surprised to find it's the best year in the history of gaming. So, 2018, first off, a revolutionary year for AAA single-player storytelling at a time that some folks thought that was probably over. Turns out you can sell consoles on AAA single-player games. So you got stuff like Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the all-time greatest single-player experiences in an open world I've ever found. We got God of War rebooted as a Cherry Chapin song, Cats in the Cradle, making me cry, amazing stuff happening there. Stellar stuff like Spider-Man happening, but it wasn't all about the AAAs. The little guys in there too, moving in to an even playing field. For example, stuff like The Messenger or Celeste, absolutely captivating, surprising games made by small teams with great music, incredible stories, and real emotional oomph behind it all. Plus, it was one of the best years ever for classic games preservation. Not just things like, bring an NES collection to the Switch, but real, curated, wonderful, loving collections that contextualized the history of some of our favorite franchises. The list of high-quality games worth playing exceeded my ability as a professional to play them all. It was a great year for games.
It's way too early to be calling it something like the greatest year ever. That would be like trying to say Avengers Infinity War is the greatest movie of all time. It's like, wait, it's like right here in front of you. The year isn't even over yet. I would look back a little bit further. Maybe a year like 1998, I think. If the best year for video games of all time is a year that saw the greatest number of groundbreaking releases whose legacy we are still enjoying and still appreciating today, I think 1998 is right up there. That's the year we got The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, which would largely be considered to be the greatest game ever made for years after that. But of course, also on the Nintendo 64, they got the first Mario Party that year. We got Banjo kazooie from Rare, which expanded on and I think improved what Nintendo did with Mario 64.
Boo.
98 was the year that Pokemon Red and Blue arrived on our shores, and I don't think it's an overstatement to say that that game remains even more popular today than it was 20 years ago. Not that game specifically, but Pokemon, of course. And then over on PlayStation, we got Metal Gear Solid, a game that turned Hideo Kojima into one of our rock star game developers. That's the reason why people are so excited for Death Stranding today, I think. We also got Resident Evil 2, a game that heavily improved on what the first Resident Evil did in many ways. And of course, now we're getting the remake next year. People are excited to revisit that. On PC, we got Half-Life, a game that proved that shooters could be more than just pew-pew, shooty action. It could
Very cerebral, yeah.
Tell a narrative as you played, as you experienced it. And of course, we got StarCraft, a game that was had a huge hand in popularizing esports, which is a huge industry today.
I think you're both wrong.
All right.
And I think that the best year in gaming hasn't happened, and I don't think it ever will happen, because video games are an iterative medium, and they're constantly being added to and inspiring each other and drawing to and from one another. The games you mentioned, Jared, that have come out this last year, which, by the way, isn't even over yet, draw heavily from the games that were in Damon's year, that were in 1998. I mean, just not even weeks ago. We are so close to it. It is just like Infinity War, a game from mere months ago. In spite of how long 2018 might have felt, it still was just 1 year. So maybe let's wait until it's over before we start, throwing around these just grand declarations like it was the best year in gaming ever. Yeah. There were some great years there. I think also you gotta respect the fact that gaming is a subjective experience because everyone experiences every game differently because games don't play themselves. It's not like a static thing like a movie or a painting or a song. It's something that requires you, the gamer, to interact with for it to work. So if you're having the absolute worst time of your life because you're in, middle school or high school or your 30s, that can definitely affect your experience with the games. Games, they're magical, they're wonderful. I posit that 2019 might be the best year in gaming ever. But that's kind of a Schrodinger's cat scenario because it's not here yet, and we don't know what's going to happen. And also, 2018 might really suck for gaming because an asteroid could hit us and kill us all. So in conclusion, I disagree with everybody.
A lot of might in there. What do you got? What do you got here?
Well, I'd like to hear if you still think that 2018 is still the best year for gaming after being reminded of a year like 1998, and also considering how our quality of gaming life has gone down a little bit in so much, people are always complaining about microtransactions, about on-disc DLC, season passes, not getting a complete game when you pay $60 for it right away, day one patches.
Yeah.
I feel like these are things that have sort of brought our quality of gaming life down a little bit.
Yes, I do think it's better. And it's not just listing the games versus listing the games. It's the kind and variety of games that we got this year. I've never seen a year where we got more different wonderful things happening at more different levels, being treated by their audience as near equals. And what I mean by that is, you could have a year where you got effectively an unofficial Castlevania remake, a brand new from the studio Mega Man game, and then a Ninja Gaiden-inspired reinterpretation, all happening side by side with equal excitement and coverage and critical reception to some of the most innovative and striking AAA titles we've ever received. This was a year that we got our socks blown off of us. And that couldn't have happened in 1998, not this way. Some guy sitting at their desk with Game Maker or Unreal couldn't have done that in 98, but they can today. And thanks to Switch, we can now bring that on the road with us and experience games that we never could have brought along before all over the place. So as we grow up and make gaming, that's not just about convenience, that's about making it accessible for people with jobs, for people that have kids, for people with commutes. It's more accessible than it's ever been. More games in more people's hands. As for Max's point, yes, I think there's a lot of merit, Max, to the idea that games are a subjective experience. Of course they are. That's why we have favorites. That's why we make lists of favorites and best. That's why it's fun. But that's also why the review process exists. And I don't want to refute the artistic critical process just because it's problematic. Favorites and subjectivity and objectivity are not mutually exclusive. They exist together in the same contextual universe. And one can draw critical perceptions on things while at the same time having favorites. And so while I think there's a lot of wisdom to your point that not everybody's going to have the same, I absolutely think it's okay to come down and say, nah, man, this one was the best.
Yeah, but what about 2017? That was a pretty good year,
That was
too.
an amazing year. Actually, that's in my article as one of the contenders for best year ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of good years. I was actually looking at this. I mean, 2007, we got the Orange Box, we got Portal, we got Halo 3, Super Mario Brothers Galaxy, Modern Warfare, which pretty much reinvented console shooters, BioShock, which also reinvented console shooters. 2011 had Skyrim, Mortal Kombat 9, Portal 2, Arkham City, Saints Row 3. I really just Googled all these years. There were a lot of really good games in a lot of really recent years, and you can't really figure out which the really good ones are until the dust kind of settles on those years. So it's asinine to come in here and make a broad declaration like that 2018 is the best year of gaming to date so far. Let's check back in 11 days when it's friggin' over.
I fear no broad declaration.
I feel like by your criteria, next year you're going to think 2019 is the best year for games ever.
No, absolutely not, and I'll explain why. As good a point as you made there, both of you, and I think there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. 1982, I think, is one of the best years in the history of video games if we're looking at the catalog of games that were released that year. It honestly probably blows away in terms of the games, just the games, 2018 and 1998. It is the most exceptional year for video games I can imagine. But it's so long ago that most of us are not directly touched by it anymore, and it's gotten too far away. There's something to be said for the power of being in the moment, the power of immediacy. So are we going to resolve this here? Of course not. Of course we're not. But it's a lot of fun to talk about. This is the kind of thing we do when we're sitting around desks, just leaning back on chairs, arguing about what's dumb, what's not, what's great, what's wonderful, what's not wonderful. And we thank you for allowing us to have jobs doing it. We'd like to know what your favorite year is in the history of video games and why. We'd like to know why 2018 is in fact the best year in video game history, which it is. And let's remember that now that you can all make games, run out there and do it. Because unlike all the other years espoused by these chumps, right now you can get into the middle of it and make your own. See you next time.